waste my time. There's a lot of fun in your eyes that I've never found in mine.
Hey guys, my name is Jacob. I'm a friend of Ryan, aka the Airsoft Tech, and today I'm going to be showing you all something pretty unique and certainly something you don't see every day. This is one of my personal builds, and I'd say it's a relatively high-end compared to most AEGs. While there are a lot of nice parts in this build, what sets it apart from most airsoft guns is the Pro-Win gearbox shell inside of it. These shells are super high quality and CNC'd out of 6064 aluminum, and they've been out of production for about 7 to 8 years now, if I recall correctly. And they're extremely hard to find. Some other aspects of this build include a 10-to-1 SiegeTech gear set with a dual sector gear, a BTC Spectre MOSFET, SHS 15 tooth piston, PPS piston head, SHS M160 spring, garter spring guide, Lonex cylinder head, RetroArms air nozzle, Modify ceramic 8mm bearings, a Mad Bull bucking, Prometheus 603 type bore barrel, and a 22 TPA armature inside a Sistema motor can. Throughout this video, I'll try and explain why I used some of the different parts I did to help give a better understanding of this build and other builds like it. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and open it up. Now, since this is a split gearbox shell, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble the upper half of it first. As far as working on one of these goes, I'd have to say it's one of the easiest yet most difficult shells I've worked on, and it'll become more apparent why as the video goes on. I'm going to set this lower to the side. Now this is what the upper half of the Pro-Win looks like. Now one of the first things you notice is this quick change spring guide right here is actually the entire rear half of the gearbox shell, which not everyone likes, but I personally think it makes it pretty easy to work on. So all I gotta do is unscrew this first screw. And then you can just use your hand to pop it right out. Now, unlike most split gearboxes, this one actually opens a little bit differently since this top half is only a portion of the entire gearbox. So just set that aside and you'll see the entire piston assembly, cylinder assembly, everything in here. Now, one weird thing about this piston is that it actually won't come out until this top bar that holds the cylinder in is removed. So we're just going to go ahead and remove that real quick. And it's just held on by one really large bolt in the very front. And that just comes right out, and this top bar will just come off real easy. That leaves the piston to come out very freely. Now, this entire hop-up unit is one solid piece to the front of the gearbox shell, so that it actually makes this gearbox shell a lot tougher than a lot of the gearbox shells that are currently on the market. It's held in by this one screw on the bottom right here. Once you take that screw out, this will just come right out. Now, normally the Pro-Win uses a small pin right here at the top of the cylinder head to hold the cylinder in, and I just kind of did away with that because I'm lazy, but this one sticks in pretty well, so I didn't really have to worry about it, so I just kind of leave that in there. The tappet plate is proprietary, which I don't like, but unlike most tappet plates, this hook that holds the tappet spring is actually a lot further forward on the Pro-Win. And their tappet plates aren't the best. I've actually broken quite a few of them myself, but this one's held up so far, so we'll just kind of hope for the best there. And that's pretty much the upper half of it. Now I'll just put it back together real quick. As far as difficulty goes, my only complaint with the upper half is putting this tappet plate back in, because it's held on by a little Allen wrench screw that goes just right in there. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get that spring on. But everything else is pretty simple. Just take this hop-up unit, just pop it in there, slide it back, and it goes right in. Spring guide just pops right back in. You can just hold it in with your thumb. Just stick the screw in. That's one of my personal favorite parts of this gearbox shell. It's just the ease of the quick change spring guide system is just appeals to me. Now putting it back onto the lower receiver is a little bit different than some gearbox shells. Like most, you just got to make sure the sector gear is on the blank side. You just pop it right on there. And with this one, since the tappet plate is cut for a DSG, it's only about half the length of a normal one. So I generally just use this unjamming rod right here, and I stick it in the barrel and just press down on it to push the tappet plate back, and it just pops right on. Simple. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the lower portion of the gearbox. For this build I used one of the Umbrella Corporation motor grips made by Mad Bull, and this is honestly like my favorite grip. Motor alignment's just real good on it, and I like the feel of it. So inside here we have a custom motor I built. It's just a Sistema can with a 22 TPA armature from a JG Blue in it. Now this right here is the lower half of the Pro Win gearbox. Now one of the first things you notice is this long bar and these two little latches on the side of it. And this is actually an anti-reversal latch release. You just press that, and that's super useful in a split gearbox since you can't really release it very well, like take the upper off until the sector gear is reset. So that just kind of allows it to reset really quickly. You don't even have to take apart the gun to do it. So I'll just go ahead and disassemble it real quick. Now, this is where we get to one of the parts that I don't like about this Pro Win gearbox, is while the anti-reversal latch release is actually a really useful part of it, whenever you assemble it and disassemble it, the bevel gear has to be on the top half of the shell, so you actually have to kind of put them together laterally. It's not very convenient, but I suppose everything has its pros and its cons. Now, I used a Gen 3 bevel from a Siege-Tech set for this build, and as you can see, it's actually shiny while they normally have a black finish, and that's because I actually had to shave down part of this Pro Win shell and part of the bevel gear, because whenever I first installed it, it was actually rubbing against the shell, and that was causing the build to not want to function properly. So I just shaved that down, and that pretty much fixed it. Here we have the dual sector gear and the 10-to-1 spur. I also used a Retro Arms trigger, which is super smooth in this build. And you can see the BTC Spectre right here. And normally BTC MOSFETs fit pretty well in most guns, but as you can see, this one has a much larger hole than it normally does, and that's because I had to modify it. This ProWin has a large shroud around where the center body pin goes, and it wouldn't fit unless I modified it. But luckily I was able to get just enough off to where it would fit without hindering the functioning of the Spectre. Now, another thing I don't like about the ProWin is that this lower half is one solid piece instead of just a gearbox that splits like a normal one. So you actually have to route the wires through these holes for the motor and through the back to get it out. I just don't really like that very much because it's not very convenient, but I suppose it holds them in well. Another feature of the ProWin are it has two little pins that go into the bottom of where the motor goes, and they actually hold down the wiring to keep it from coming up and having your motor shred the wiring, because that's no fun. And that's just a really neat feature about it. And I'd say that about sums it up for this build. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to ask below, and we'll see you next time.
Lean in your heart.